Martin, back to school is almost here. How are you feeling? Are you ready? Are the kids ready?
I'm going to middle school, so I'm going to be meeting new people, and I can make new friends.
And for the first time in a couple of years, students across Ontario will see little to no COVID restrictions in place. Parents and the experts weigh in.
Been slowed down because of COVID, because of everything open, airports opening, you have more tourism.
After struggling through the pandemic, there were high hopes for this summer's tourism season. So did things bounce back? We'll find out.
Gaga, do you have fun? Yeah.
And brace yourself for cuteness overload. To mark the end of the outdoor pool season, the City of Toronto welcomed dogs for dogs-only swimming.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Thanks for joining us. We'll have more on those stories in a moment. But first, we are tracking the biggest story in Canada tonight. At least 10 people are dead, 15 others injured, and 3 provinces are under emergency alert at this hour as police continue to hunt for 2 suspects wanted in a series of stabbing attacks in Saskatchewan. Let's get right to Sam Sampson with what we've learned so far.
Our thoughts are with the many victims, deceased and injured, their family, friends, and communities. It is horrific what has occurred in our province today.
A shocking crime in several small communities. 10 dead, at least 15 injured, found in 13 separate locations. It started here, about 200 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon in James Smith Cree Nation, around 6 this morning. RCMP say multiple people were stabbed here in James Smith and in the nearby community of Weldon. Police say these 2 suspects, 31-year-old Damian Sanderson and 30-year-old Miles Sanderson, targeted some of their victims. Others appeared to be attacked at random.
At 8:20, the dangerous persons alert was extended to the entire province of Saskatchewan.
Good looking. This woman says she saw the emergency alert to stay home. Shortly after, a man knocked on her door wanting to be taken to hospital, but she didn't feel right about it.
This guy come walking up here, and it looked like his coat over his face, and he said, "I need somebody to take me to the hospital. My mouth has been hurt." He said, I've been stabbed, and my mouth has been hurt. And I said, "Well, let's see." And he says, "No, it's real bad. I can't show you." I said, "What is your name?" And he apparently said it, but I couldn't tell what his name was.
She did not let him in. At least 3 people were airlifted to a Saskatoon hospital, others taken in ambulances to closer hospitals. The Saskatchewan Health Authority says hospitals had to call in more staff to deal with the emergency. It's believed the 2 suspects fled in a black Nissan Rogue with a Saskatchewan license plate of 119 MPI.
Their location and direction of travel is unknown. This is why we need everyone in the province to stay vigilant and report any suspicious activity by calling 911 immediately.
Their car was last seen in Regina just before noon local time.
Well, closer to home now, back to school is almost here. And for the first time in more than 2 years, there are little to no COVID-19 restrictions in place in Ontario. Mandatory isolation is no longer required if you test positive. Jamie Strachan now on how parents are feeling and what the experts are saying.
In southern Ontario, the last weekend of the Canadian National Exhibition means one thing: school is just around the corner.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to see my whole class and all my friends.
I'm going to middle school, so I'm going to be meeting new people, and I can make new friends.
For students, it's always a time of nerves and excitement. Mixed emotions for parents as well, as students return to the classroom with loosened COVID protocols in place.
Ontario kind of scrapped all of the regulations with regards to COVID. Scares me a little bit, but the kids need to be in school, and they need to learn, and they need to be with other kids.
Ontario recently announced that those who test positive for COVID no longer need to isolate for 5 days, and children can return to school if their symptoms have improved for at least 24 hours. Wearing a mask is suggested, but not mandatory. A number of other provinces have similar rules in place.
Overall, I am a little bit nervous, just knowing that you don't have to isolate at all, and that does expose our little ones. Overall, we have to have faith in our community and know that if people are feeling unwell, they're going to keep their kids home.
Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health says it's part of Ontario's shift out of the crisis phase of the pandemic.
We know that an uninterrupted routine of in-person school is important to the social and emotional development of children and youth.
I'd rather that we waited longer before making these changes.
Dr. Fahad Razak, head of the province's soon-to-be disbanded science table, says the change in rules ignores the data.
We have a lot more circulating virus now, as I've said, 5 or 10 times higher than last year.
He suggests keeping the current isolation and masking rules in place.
Each time you make a transition, do it cautiously, get us closer to that normal, but also by minimizing the risk that you have to pull back.
For students, this September will be more normal than the last few years, but the shadow of COVID remains. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Back to school also means the end of the summer tourism season. So has the industry that really struggled through the pandemic bounced back? We sent our Tyler Cheese out looking for answers.
Local businesses had a very good summer, relatively speaking.
Summer's been awesome. I mean, it's a huge improvement to obviously where we were last summer. Still got a ways to go, but it's great to see people back out enjoying the waterfront.
We are currently ahead of our projected budget for the year, even though we were closed for 7 weeks in the early part of the year.
But while Toronto has seen an influx of Canadian visitors from all over the country, international travelers don't seem as keen.
We've seen about a 200% increase in business, but that's still 50% down from 2019. We really need those American visitors and those international visitors to shore up those numbers.
According to Statistics Canada, the number of road trips Americans made to Canada this summer is down by 45% compared to 2019. On Friday, the mayor of Niagara Falls told CBC's Power and Politics the federal government's ArriveCan app is keeping Americans from crossing the border.
They show up, and all of a sudden they're told they have to have this ArriveCan app. The lineups are huge. They're significantly longer than they should be, and they end up leaving with a negative experience.
ArriveCan was introduced early in the pandemic as a COVID-19 safety measure. The government says the vaccine screening app actually reduces wait times at the border. And experts say ArriveCan isn't solely to blame for fewer visitors.
I think people are a little bit more cautious when they travel, and people are still staying a bit closer to home. Also, the Canadian dollar is relatively weak compared to the US dollar.
Confusion about vaccine requirements and things like airport delays may also be factors.
And that's causing people to choose to stay within the US or travel to other places. And we're going to have to be very assertive in inviting back Americans. And that's what it's going to take across all the partners in Canada to kind of break through some of those negative perceptions that sowed over the last 2 years.
So, as a relatively good summer tourism season comes to a close, the industry is hopeful for an even better one next year. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
In other news tonight, the SIU is investigating after a 55-year-old man died during an interaction with police. It happened in Port Colborne, south of Niagara Falls. Police responded to calls for a neighbor dispute around 2 in the afternoon. The SIU says police attempted to speak with the man when he barricaded himself inside his apartment. They tried to enter the unit. An officer fired his gun and the man was hit. He died in hospital. We don't yet know the identity of the 52-year-old man. The investigation's still ongoing tonight. Meantime, police in Mississauga are once again investigating a nightclub after an early morning shooting. It happened at her nightclub near Eglinton and Dixie. One man was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Another was also hurt. Police say a stray bullet flew through the front window of a neighboring restaurant. Thankfully, no one was inside. You may remember this is the same club police warned about earlier this summer. Since January 2021, police say they've responded to more than 24 incidents in and around the nightclub. A man riding an e-bike has died after a collision with a van. It happened in North York. As Meg Roberts shows us, it has some advocates calling for more clarity around the rules for e-bikes.
A broken e-bike lays on the road after a crash at Wilson Avenue and Cornelius Parkway last night. Moments earlier, a 44-year-old man was traveling eastbound when a white GMC van turned left into the path of the e-bike and they collided. Paramedics rushed the man to hospital where he died.
This occurred at 9 o'clock at night. It was dark out, and our officers are reaching out to anyone who witnessed this collision or who has dash cam footage to please contact police.
Cycling advocates say better education on the rules of the road are needed for drivers of vehicles and e-bikes, and that levels of government should be working harder to create clear and consistent bylaws in order to keep people safe on the roads.
We need real leadership from the top, and that goes all the way to the province, to educate people on the rules of the road, and provide proper funding for safe infrastructure, and sort out what we see as a mess on our streets.
In the meanwhile, he has a word of caution for bikes and e-bikes on the road.
Everybody cycle, ride defensively. Assume that they're going to hit you and they're not looking. Make yourself seen.
Toronto police were not able to provide specific details about the incident, but they're reminding e-bike operators to take safety precautions seriously.
When you're operating an e-bike, you have to make sure you adhere to the rules of the road. You're wearing the proper safety equipment. This does have a motor in it. They're traveling at decent speeds, so you must be wearing a helmet. And also make sure that all the lights are operating, your brakes are working, and that it's mechanically sound and fit for the road.
Toronto police say the investigation is ongoing. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
A missing 3-year-old girl in Hamilton was found dead yesterday evening. Police do not believe her death was suspicious.
They searched the area and contacted police around 6:15 p.m. Zara was found in the water by a kayaker at 7:50 p.m.
Police say Zara Osman was with her family at the Binbrook Conservation Area when they lost sight of her around 5 p.m. She had been missing for about 2 hours when she was found by kayakers in the water. Police are asking for any witnesses and people with video to contact them. And a man from Kitchener has been arrested in connection with 2 crashes yesterday. We showed you this one in Midtown at St. Clair and Yonge. According to police, the driver hit a 65-year-old man who suffered life-threatening injuries. The driver took off. Well, shortly after, the same vehicle hit a 25-year-old cyclist who was hurt but is expected to be okay. The driver was due in court this morning. A chilly day out there today, and overcast too, forcing the Canadian National Air Show to cancel. We'll show you yesterday's show. This is what it looks like when there's ideal conditions. Things are set to go again tomorrow if the weather is right. So let's bring in Sophia, because, you know, people so look forward to this every year.
Yeah, and the call was made pretty late. They were trying to get it up, but it's just not safe to fly when that base of that cloud deck is so low, Shannon. So they need about 1,000 feet or 300 meters to be able to get up and fly. And we had these really low-level clouds, which we still do right now, really moisture-laden system. If you were out and about today, you know that it was more like drizzle. Everything sort of felt like you were out in Niagara Falls, not the kind of shower activity that would make for pooling or ponding on the roadways, but just sort of stagnant. And there, that low-level cloud will be back into Monday morning. You'll feel that drizzle out there, but then there will be an eventual clearing. It'll come, though, from north to south. So if you're up at the cottage, you'll eventually bring that sunshine back down with you on your drive home. It won't really clear, though, in the GTA till into the evening hours. So it's, again, another sort of toss-up forecast for the afternoon hours if you are headed out for the X grounds. And then we turn our attention to Tuesday and Wednesday for back to school. As you heard there, seasonal for Tuesday, but in our house, this sort of felt like sweater weather, dare I say it, today. As we head into Wednesday and Thursday, though, for many of you returning, you may not need a jacket, especially for the lunch hours. It'll feel quite balmy for all the kids. Now, coming up, we'll do more of your long range. We'll tell you about when you can wear your shorts and T-shirts later on this week and next week for school. And I hope all of you are getting excited with the backpacks at the ready, Shannon.
Oh, yeah, big days coming. Thanks, Sophia.
See you soon.
A candlelight vigil took place in Barrie, honoring the 6 young people killed in last weekend's car crash. Last night, friends and family of the victims gathered along the downtown waterfront. Last Sunday, 4 men and 2 women were found dead after their vehicle crashed into a concrete construction pit. All were in their 20s. A fundraiser for the families has raised more than $84,000, well above the original goal. Just 4 sleeps now until TIFF takes over. Get ready for the red carpets, the A-list celebrities. The festival is back in a big way after a couple years of COVID restrictions. You know who's excited? Our next guest, Will Wong. You may know him from his blog, Mr. Will Wong. He covers everything from film reviews to celebrity sightings. Thanks so much for being here.
Amazing. Shannon, such a pleasure. Oh my gosh, happy TIFF.
Yes, it's so exciting. How good does it feel to you to have TIFF back to full capacity in person again?
I'll tell you what, like the last couple of years have been a hybrid festival format. So it's been, I mean, I loved finishing the festival like super early last year. I remember, on the Sunday night I was done, all my, my celeb chasing, all that stuff. And it was just such a relief. But this year, obviously, we've got a full slate this year. I mean, the festival's back to, its full capacity. I mean, all the stars are going to be back in full force this year. By any stretch, this would have been a big TIFF even pre-pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. The marathon is about to begin. Tell us what films you're most excited for.
Oh my gosh, there's such a long list, but I must say my most anticipated film, it's The Whale. This is being marked as Brendan Fraser. You might remember him from The Mummy.
Right.
This is his big comeback. I mean, he plays a 600-pound man looking to reconcile his relationship with his daughter, who's played by Sadie Sink of Stranger Things. So, I mean, that premiered at Venice just this past weekend. Huge raves. I know he was moved to tears by the audience's reaction. I can't wait to see Toronto's reaction to this because I'm really excited to see this one. This is going to be one that's going to go on to award season glory for sure. Should I talk about more? I've got so many to go through.
Yes, I was going to say, the one I'm looking forward to is Brother because it was filmed in Scarborough. It's about Scarborough. It sounds amazing.
Amazing. How cool is it that we're seeing on a world stage one of our own, stories from Toronto on a world stage? It's not Toronto trying to be New York or Chicago. It's Scarborough. It's Toronto being Toronto, looking back at, real situations in the 90s, the violence that we saw in Scarborough, and the story centers on family and 2 brothers and just them being products of their environment. I'm so excited to see this one. It's going to be one that's going to definitely make a mark for Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. I've read some of the early reviews and it sounds fantastic. Tell us, I know you've got a few more that you're excited to see.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Empire of Light. I mean, that stars Olivia Colman, who you might remember from The Crown. She's also won an Oscar. She's going to be here. I mean, she's done quite a few huge films that have gone on to award success, but she hasn't been to Toronto in a while. So she's going to be here next week for Empire of Light, which is by Sam Mendes. He's also receiving an award at the TIFF Tribute Gala next Sunday night. And yeah, that's just about the love of cinema. So I'm just so excited to see that because that's such a fitting film and just something to welcome us back to the festival. So, My Policeman also, like that stars Harry Styles. This is sort of like, I mean, he's got 2 movies coming out this fall. The other one's at Venice. It didn't come here, but this one's here and it's getting a lot of awards. But it's already won an award at the TIFF Tribute Gala next week. It's, for the ensemble cast of which he's part of. So this is really him going from a mega pop star, proving himself as a serious actor. So he's got a bit at stake here. I'm really excited. It also stars Emma Corrin, who also starred in The Crown as Lady Diana.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight and your excitement. Thank you to your puppy for joining in with us. That is Will Wong. He's an entertainment blogger joining us from Toronto.
Thanks for the chat.
When I went to see the same tour in Seoul, this time I am going to party as much as I can.
As you should. That 17 fan Mendy Liu, it's a big weekend for her and K-pop fans across the GTA. Last night, the band was performing for the first time since the start of the pandemic. Liu told us for K-pop fans, a concert isn't just a show. Many come hours early to participate in events, collect merch, and exchange fan-made gifts. She made and printed more than 6,000 photo cards to trade with other fans.
After experiencing it in Korea and seeing how fun it is to see people like trade for their favorite members or the excitement of getting a photo card, I wanted to bring that event here in Toronto.
They are part of this collective, part of this community. So a concert is an opportunity to come together as that community and to meet other people who are also fans and to exchange, fan-produced objects.
So much fun. Cho adds that K-pop isn't just a genre of music, but a community that's been growing since it first started in the 90s. That's one way to hop in. Doggy paddle was a popular move at pools across Toronto. That's because of today's dog-only swim event. The furry friends were able to have a splash at 9 different outdoor pools. Well, it wasn't the hottest of days. Dozens of dogs took a refreshing dip. Stanley Park South Pool was a busy one with owners and dogs waiting in line for their turn.
Because they always like swimming, so we always want to bring them to the pool. And we saw this event, we thought it's like a great opportunity.
Dogs swam for free, but the city said they would accept donations of peanut butter, freeze-dried treats, and toys. The event was organized by the City of Toronto to say farewell to the outdoor pool season. If you missed today, don't worry. The city's planned another swim event at Riverdale Park East Pool next Sunday as well. That may have been the happiest place in the city today, I think. Oh
Arguably one of the best stories we've ever covered, maybe better than the time that I ate ice cream on air. Also, arguably one of the times when it's okay to pee in the pool. There you go, I said
yes.
it.
Yes, okay, you did. They probably
the
did.
Doggy
You're right.
paddle.
That's why it was just them in there, nobody else.
How cute. And we certainly just came out of the dog days of summer. I show you proof in the pudding. August, where we had just a handful of days that were either seasonal or below. It was quite hot, and that's how we started, folks, the long weekend as well. Remember, Saturday feels like a long time ago after today's drizzly cool day. Saturday felt like 37. What a change for today. Those purples and greens that you see is a temperature change that we had between Saturday into Sunday of about 20 degrees in 24 hours. What that feels like, and we're still dealing with that misty drizzle right into Monday morning. We talked about that earlier on Monday. Unfortunately, is a really tricky forecast for anybody with any outdoor events. We have that low-lying cloud, that drizzle, and those sort of cool seasonal temperatures as well. We're actually right where we should be this time of year, but it feels quite cool, quite nice for back to school again. Some breaks of sunshine, and the feels likes that will be into the 30s again for this week ahead. A bit of a resurgence of late summer weather with nice humidity as we head into late week into the weekend. Shannon, are you ready for back to school? That's the big question.
I've got my Kleenex ready for junior kindergarten. Good luck to you.
Harder for moms than it is for the kids.
That is. We say goodnight. Have a good